Right, hello there folks, and welcome to this video for your Writing to Express a Viewpoint lessons. It's Mrs. Gotham Ramon with you here today, and today we're just going to be going over the features of a speech. So hopefully you're aware from your English lessons that this is going to be super helpful for your work on writing to express a viewpoint, because in the exam will either ask you to write a speech, an article, or a letter. You don't get to choose, it will tell you which one it wants you to do. So throughout this unit, you're going to be learning, well, what are the features of a speech I need to include? And an article and a letter will come later on. But today we're particularly looking at features of a speech. It's worth saying at this point that whether you get a speech, a letter, or an article in the exam, you'll be using the ethos, logos, pathos, conclusion writing structure. So that won't change. There'll just be some key features that will change of what you write depending on if you get asked to write a speech, a letter, or an article. So without further ado, let's move on and have a look at the features of a speech. So you will get a question a bit like this. This is an example of what the question might look like. So you always get a statement at the start. In this question, it was young people should focus on education. School students should not be allowed to have jobs. So you'll get some kind of statement like that. And then you'll be asked to write a speech, in this case, to your school's governors in response to this statement. So it's always worth noting what kind of text is it asking you to write. It will either be a speech, a letter, or an article. Who are you being asked to write to, or in case of a speech, speak to? So in this case, it's the school governors. And what are they asking you to do? Well, they're asking you to respond to this statement. So having had a look at the question, looking at those things are really important, but also having a look at what the statement is and what it's asking you to do should also be really important. So here are the features of a speech. These are also on your knowledge organiser, and also on your knowledge organiser are the features of a letter and an article as well. So first of all, we've got it should be written in the first person. So that means when you write it, you're talking as if you are speaking. So you'll be using pronouns like I, me, we, and us when you write. You'll want to address the audience directly to show that this is who it is that you're speaking to, and to keep them engaged in your speech whilst your piece of writing. You need to write in paragraphs. As I just mentioned, it will be using the ethos, logos, pathos, conclusion writing structure, but it's important to say that they should be written in paragraphs. And then here are some suggestions on how to demonstrate you're writing a speech. So at the start, you should address the audience directly. For example, good morning, everybody, or everyone. I'm standing here today too. That's a really good phrase to learn to use when you're starting a speech. In the middle, so somewhere either in logos or pathos, it's worth referring to the audience or the venue. So for example, as I look around this school hall, just to, again, remind the examiner that you know that you're writing a speech. And then at the end, so in your conclusion, you should leave a direct request to your audience. So what do you want them to do after hearing you speak that day? Before you leave here today, I want you to. So these are really useful phrases to learn for the exam so that you know if you get asked to do a speech, you know what to sort of add into your ethos, logos, pathos, conclusion structure. So we're going to look at this in action. So hopefully you've got a copy of the Waggle speech available, which you should be able to download off the Show My Homework. We're going to go through it and we're going to look for these elements. So make sure that you've got a copy of the speech with you. If it is possible to print it, that would be fantastic, or you can just view it on the screen. At this point, I would suggest pausing the video and making some notes about the features of the speech that we will be looking for. So taking some notes off this slide of what features you would find in a speech. So pause here to do that, please. All right, so hopefully you've made some notes about what you need to include in a speech. So we're now going to have a look at the Waggle. So here is the first paragraph of the Waggle speech. Let's look first of all, I've identified some things in different colours. If you want to pause as we go along and try and guess what the colours are, you're welcome to. So first of all, the things in red. The first thing I said was that we want to try and write our speech in the first person, using pronouns like I, me, we, us. So there's some clear examples of that in this speech here. We've got I know that you all, we're, several examples of I and I'm and my. So we're talking as if this is us speaking to show that it is a speech. Secondly, in green, we are addressing the audience, and you can address them specifically using phrases like ladies and gentlemen, but also you might refer to them as you as well, showing that you are talking to them. Thirdly, we want to try and refer to where we are when we're doing our speech. So here we're in the school hall. And last of all, we want to, if possible, demonstrate that we know who we're speaking to. So remember the question was asking us, saying that we were going to be in a governor's meeting. So I'm showing that I'm aware of that by saying another governor's meeting. And this is our ethos paragraph from the speech. So I'll just give you a minute to pause the video here and make some notes on your speech if you can. And if you can't, perhaps do some colour coding on the document. And type a little key at the bottom with the different colours so that you're labelling on your copy the different features of the speech. So pause here and label the 4 things that I've got in the 4 different colours. Alright, let's move on to the logos paragraph then. So here is our logos paragraph of the speech. So you should remember from what I was explaining earlier what elements we've got in the middle of our speech. We need to make sure we are referring to the audience in the middle of our speech. So we've got do you here, do you, who I'm sure really want school to be beneficial for all its students, really want young people like me to feel this kind of pressure. So we're referring to the audience here as you. And down the bottom of the paragraph we can see not only does this help their self-esteem, it helps parents like you save money. So again, we've got a reference to not only the fact that we're talking to the audience, but clear kind of who we're talking to. We're talking to parents in this speech because that is kind of our purpose here. So pause the video here and then can you label those things please on your logos paragraph of the speech, either on your paper copy if you have one, or making a key, continuing your key on your document and highlighting or colour coding the bits here. So pause the video here to do that. All right, so let's move on to pathos and to the conclusion. We can see here we've got our pathos and then our conclusion. So just one thing to label here in the speech, which is that at the end we need to leave a request directed at the audience. What do you want them to do having gone away from hearing your speech today? So here we've got, please do not stop us from working. So that is kind of the what you want the audience to do when you leave. Okay, so pause here and then please can you label that on your copy of the speech, either on paper or on your document. Righty-ho, so those are the key features of a speech that you need to be including in your writing for the exam if it asks you to write a speech. As hopefully I've shown you, the ethos, logos, pathos, conclusion structure stays exactly the same as if you were writing an article or a letter or a speech, but there are just a few things that you add in to show the examiner that you are aware they've asked you to write a speech and not, for example, a letter. So thank you very much for listening today, and I hope you get on all right with the rest of your work for today. Take care.